we tend to be defensive around people who are different than we are. Now, why is that? So a question, why is it so instinctual for us to be suspicious of people who are different? I mean, logically, we know that we shouldn't be, but why do we go there anyways? We don't understand them. You're absolutely right. And you know why we don't understand them? It's because we process information about each other so quickly that there's no possible way without slowing the process down then that we can't understand them. This is you or me on the left-hand side, and this is everybody else that we come in contact with. Let's say that I see Richard or I see Marta. Do you know how long it takes my brain to make an initial assessment of the physical qualities that you have, gender, age, height, skin tone? How long do you think it takes me to make a mental note of those things? About 7/1000ths of a second. It's that quickly. We are programmed to do this. So we'll call that our perceptions. How I'm dressed, how you're dressed, what our posture is like. All these things we make note of very quickly. But then what happens is this. Our brains very quickly go into a processing mode to assign meaning to those things that we observe. And in less than another 0.4 of a second, we have already landed on a behavior and a response by outcome or output. So in less than half of a second, we have sized each other up and we're already in motion without ever going a step further. And that's one of the reasons why we end up treating people poorly sometimes, is because we're acting on very, very limited information. So let's understand what goes on in this association and evaluation process. You see, how many of you are familiar with Malcolm Gladwell and some of his books? Blink, and there's a term he uses called thin slicing. Anybody remember thin slicing? And it's about how we take just little mini chunks of information and we try to kludge those together with our own little algorithm into some kind of truth. Well, that's what we do with each other. And though the information is limited, it kind of goes through this series of coffee filters in our head. When I'm meeting somebody, I'm seeing somebody I already know possibly, the very first thing I'm thinking is, okay, I'm not thinking about the fact that I have a very limited information. I skip that. I go to my needs and wants. How does being around you affect what I need and want right now? Are you going to help me or are you going to get in my way? That's being taken into consideration. My attitudes, values, and core beliefs about you or people like you, whatever groups I've assigned to you. And then there's my self-esteem and my self-image. How do I feel about me when I'm around you? Do people like you tend to make me feel good about myself, or do I feel insecure about myself? Whether you have anything to do with it or not, just simply my processing. Then there's my personal experiences. Then there is my biases, which we'll talk about a little bit later, my preferences for this group or that group, even down to the level of genetics. Some of our instinctual responses to differences in other people, you don't even have to learn. Just like a rabbit does not have to be afraid of the fox, it just learns that instinctually. We now know that there are certain things in our warning system that are just there because they've been passed down through our gene pool. And so I guess I'm kind of surprised that we don't treat people with disrespect more frequently, because all this is designed to keep us safe, right? Now, so even though the information has been dramatically filtered, we're going to take all this information and we're going to put it into two buckets of information that we have about ourselves and other people. There's our knowledge about others, and then there's our beliefs. What's the difference between those two? Knowledge versus beliefs. What do you think?
One's based in an abstract.
Okay.
Creation that we form, and then knowledge is based on concrete memories or actual experiences.
Which, by the way, are not very concrete at all. Our memories are extremely malleable, as research would suggest. But even at a moment in time, let's say knowledge is what's mutually verifiable information about a person. Let's take someone like Shelley. We can say that Shelley is approximately 29 years old. She is 5'4".
1.5.
5'1.5", okay. With heels 5'4", as I said. And she's got this beautiful kind of aquamarine necklace on this afternoon. So those are things that are verifiable by everybody in here. Now, the belief part is the story that I tell myself about those variables. As a general rule, how well do you think most of us do at separating our knowledge about our peers from our beliefs about our peers? Perception is reality. Do we even try? Do we even try to separate those two? Heavens no, it's so much work. Why would we do that? And to rationalize why we don't, we have this nifty little trick that we play with ourselves. You see, other people have knowledge and beliefs. Me, I have truth. We take everything that I know and believe, we'll just put them in the same basket and it becomes truth. And so we don't, as a general rule, we don't catch ourselves when we're acting upon beliefs about people versus our knowledge about people, because we really do think that we are the infinite holders of wisdom. Just ask us, right? So let's talk about the kinds of beliefs that are most likely to lead to potential disrespect. The first